So we'll be discussing the decentralization process in India. We've noted about the federal government that have two tier or more tiers. Two tiers, when we talk about union and union, which is also known as central government, and the state government. When we talk about more tiers, for example, in India we now have three tier system. Then we talk about union government, we talk about state government, and we talk about local government governance, which is through panchayats and municipalities. We have so far discussed the two tiers of government in a country, but a vast country in like India cannot be run only through these two tiers. States in India are as large as independent countries of Europe. Some of our states, only states, are so bigger than the entire one country of Europe. In terms of population, if you talk about population wise, then Uttar Pradesh is bigger than Russia. The population of the state of Uttar Pradesh is as big as the entire Russia. Maharashtra is as big as Maharashtra state is as big as the European country, Germany, if we talk in terms of population wise. Okay, then many of these states are internally very diverse. These all our states are very, you'll have different, we've all talked, we discussed a lot about diversity in India and everything. Okay, many of these states are internally very diverse, thus there is thus a need for power sharing, and that is why there is need to share power within these states. Federal power sharing in India needs another tier of government below that of the state government. This is a rationale for decentralization of power, and this is where the concept of decentralization of power comes, in three tier system, thus resulted in the third tier of government, which is called the local government. When power is taken away from central and state government and given to local government, it is called decentralization. And this whole process of giving power, dividing power and sharing with the local governance, this whole system is called decentralization. That is, we are not saying that all the decisions will be made from the topmost. The Even the local government people can make decisions on their own, because even these decisions are for them, they know it is good or bad. The basic idea behind decentralization is that there are large number of problems, there's so many problems and issues, and a lot of these can be solved at the local level. Every issue doesn't have to go to the level of state government or to the union level, which are best settled at the local level. People have better knowledge because they have better knowledge of problems in the localities. They also have better ideas on where to spend money, and how to manage things more efficiently. Besides, at the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making. Of course, if it's at the local level, smaller groups, people and everything, they can come together, discuss it out, and then come to a solution. This helps to inculcate मतलब टू वो शुरू करना, वो मतलब कि अपने में इनकलकेट मतलब वो सिस्टम के अंदर उसको नॉर्मलाइज, यहाँ पे वी वी टॉक अबाउट इज दैट गलकेट मतलब कि हल्के हल्के, इफ़ यू स्टार्ट डूइंग समथिंग देन यू विल बिकम अ प्रो, राइट? someday you will not when you start playing the badminton for the first time, then you won't be such a good player. You'll be like, okay, you might know the rules, you might know how to hit the shuttlecock, but you wouldn't have been pro that to win all the matches. But with time, you will learn the game better, and you'll learn the techniques and everything, and you'll be able to perform, and maybe you'll even become the top lead in badminton. Similarly here, this helps to inculcate a habit of democratic participation. So it will also help in inculcate this practice, where people will come and take decisions and participate in the democracy processes. Local government is best way to realize one important principles of democracy, namely local government. So this is the most important about aspect, that it is about local self government of decentralization. The need for decentralization were recognized in our constitution. Since then, there have been several attempts, to decentralize power to the level of villages and to the towns. Okay. uh, Panchayats in villages and municipalities. So we have, panchayats, and we have municipalities in urban areas. They were set up in all the states, but these were directly under the control of state government, but they came under the state government. Elections to these local bodies were not held regularly, and elections were also not regularly. There were sometimes gap and so on. Local governments did not have any powers or resources, and even if there were local governments, they didn't have much power or resources on their own. Thus it became thus there was very little decentralization in effective terms. We say that something is effective only when outcomes are there, right? So here, if you don't give them the resources to perform and everything, where how are they going to show outcome? A major step towards decentralization was taken in 1992. The constitution was amendment to make the third tier of democracy more powerful. So this year is very important, 1992, when the third tier of democracy became more powerful. Now it is constitutionally mandatory to hold regular elections to local government body. Seats are, reserved in the elected bodies, and the executive heads of these institutions, and the executive heads of these institutions for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward class, other backward OBC. Then we have at least one third of all the positions are reserved. We talked about this, that one third they are for women. Okay. Then an independent institution called the State Election Commission has, and for this, now we have an, state. We, of course, we have the ECI Election Commission of India, but now we also have the State Election Commission, which has been created in each state to conduct. We have State Election Commission, an independent institution, which is to create elections for municipal elections and of panchayat. These, the state governments are required to share some powers. The state governments, they have to share some powers. You cannot keep all the powers to yourself. You have to share powers. And if you are going to share power, of course, you have to, even in that, you have to share revenues also with the local government bodies. The nature of sharing varies, and this percentage of sharing, and this all, it also depends from state to state. Rural local government is popularly known by the name Panchayati Raj. So if you ever heard about this name, or ever come across, then usually people refer to rural local government as Panchayati Raj. Each village, or a group of villages in some states, it is either one village, or if the villages are very small, then they are clubbed together in some of the states, and has a gram panchayat. We've already discussed that, how they become the gram panchayat, and then we have mm, this thing, Zilla Panchayat also. Okay, so that's, we've discussed it in previous textbooks. Then there's a council consisting of several ward members, often called as Panch. So we already know that whoever are selected, the ward is called Panch, and the president or the and a president or a serpent. So the members who are selected, they are called Panch, and the president, or the one leader who's the main leader, is called the Sarpanch. Okay. They are directly elected. Of course, they are directly elected by all the adult population living in that ward or in that area. It is the decision making body for the entire making, and it is this body that makes this decision for the entire ward or the entire village. Okay. Now, if we talk about, the panchayat works under the overall supervision of the Gram Sabha. So it is under the Gram Sabha that the panchayat will work. No decision will be taken without the supervision, or without discussing. All the voters in the village are its members. We saw that in, one of the cases, that where I think in class seventh textbook, where there was this case of a welfare scheme that was passed, and they were discussing the problems, issues of the village, where shortage of water was one of the main issues. And then one of the members suggested that we should try water harvesting method. And then they discussed on that, and also they discussed the other welfare schemes that was to be given in the village. All the voters in the village are its members. It has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year. So it has to meet twice or thrice, at least 2 or 3 times in the village. You cannot say that they won't be meeting or falana. So they has to meet in a year to approve the annual budget. Annual budget is prepared together of the gram panchayat and to review the performance of the gram panchayat. And they'll again review that how did our panchayat work, was it good or not, and did it fulfill the promises or not, or whatever the it is actually fulfill not, did they deliver the solutions or not, and whatever was discussed in that. The local government structure goes right up to the district level. A few gram panchayats are grouped together to together to form what is usually called a panchayat samiti or block or mandal. So this is also this is also very important. This is also called this thing a panchayat samiti. Or then after gram panchayat, then comes when few gram panchayats they are grouped together, then to form what is known as panchayat samiti, block, etc. The members of this representative body are uh, elected by the panchayat members in an area. All panchayat samiti members in a district, so whoever are in one particular districts together continue to form Zilla Parishad. This is what I was talking about. I'll make it more clear, okay? Don't worry. uh, Zilla Parishad, most members of the Zilla Parishad are elected, whoever they are elected. So it's a very democratic process. Members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of the district and some other officials of the other district levels are also its members. And the members of the Zilla Parishad, some Lok Sabha members, MLA members are also part of it. Zilla Parishad chairman is the political head, and whoever is the chairperson, sorry, chair, if very very you should never genderize the positions. Like by mistake I said chairman. How do I know it's a man? It can be a woman also, right? So I should have said chairperson, and it's written also here. I just my tips sorry, my tongue slipped, and I'm sorry for that. It is chairperson. Always remember, you should never genderize in general also, and especially important positions, because anybody can. You can't, we shouldn't say that only one gender can be here, that any person can be here. Is a political unless you know them personally, in a specific case, that whether it's a madam or a sir or any third gender. Then chairperson is the political head of the Jilla Parishad. Similarly, local government bodies exist for urban areas and urban areas. So similarly there is this for urban areas. We've seen it for rural areas. Rural areas is one, then we have it for here rural areas is one, and then we have it for urban areas, where municipalities are set up in towns. Big cities, if they are big cities, then you have municipal corporation. Both municipalities and municipal corporation are controlled by the elected bodies. Whoever controls their elected body, and consisting of people's representation. So the choice of people is given. Municipal chairperson is a political head, and here this thing municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality. In a municipal corporation, such an officer is called mayor. So he's often called mayor. They can be a municipality or a municipal corporation. This thing, if it's a bigger town, then usually there is a municipality corporation, okay? So prime minister runs the country, chief minister runs the state. Logically, then the chairperson of the Zilla Parishad should run the district. Why does the this thing district magistrate or collector minister administer the district? We are talking, when we are talking about district, we are talking on a whole. When we are talking about local government, it's a small area. They are come to their representative, his work is to administer, their work is about representation and everything. So they play very different roles, okay? Democracy for sale in Tamil Nadu, highest bidders get panchayat post. So it is always seen, whenever elections are there in general. I'm not specifying that whether it is for panchayati raj or not. So there's this thing that just like we say that criminalization of politics, similarly we say we even say that people who have muscle power or money power, they tend to win posts. Women pradhans bring down winds of change. So here you can see some women pradhan. Then you can see for rupees 250 justice in a village bill, over 1 million elected in panchayat. Maybe they are talking about the whole country. States oppose direct funding of the panchayat. So these are different news clippings, regarding local governance. What is these newspaper clippings have to say about the efforts of decentralization? So how can you what do these news articles tell you about? Do they tell you that yes, the decentralization is working properly or not? If we talk about, then of course they are giving being a proper representation. Okay, here we are saying that women pradhan who's bringing a change in the government, that means it's running greatly. Then of course we can say that here, I'll say it's wrong to buy seats only because you have more money and more muscle power. And then I don't know what actually they are trying to they say here. States oppose direct funding of panchayat. So we'll look on that. Okay, we'll study maybe in the future chapters we come across with this. So I know that it has become a little bit confusing, all this decentralization process in India. So I've just simplified, just remember these things, So in local government, sorry, in rural government, so there are two type of local government. One is a rural government, and second is the urban government. Now you'll know that. Now you'll say that how do you know between what is rural and government? See, rural and government happens on the sizes of the population. There's this certain criteria that if you have this much population and this thing, then you'll be known as a village, you'll be known as a city, then you'll be known as like a small city or big city, and then this whole criteria goes on. But you don't have to worry about that. I just have simplified the process that is required. Okay, so what happens in rural government is that you have one village. If it's like small, then you have many villages which are clubbed together, and they have a gram panchayat. You might have heard about gram sabha. Gram sabha, in there all the members who are above the age, or so all the people, adult population who are above actually 18 years of age, they have the right to vote. So they are part of the gram sabha. So they can choose gram panchayat, which are like five people. The members are called panch, and whoever is the president is known as the sarpanch. Then you take that gram panchayat, and just like that you take other it's actually area wise divided. Okay, to simplify, so you take few gram panchayats, and then they will form mandal. It's called mandal, or it's even called block, or or it might be called panchayati samiti, block, ps, or mandal, to simplify. Then what happens, all now we are this whole classification is district wise, because we want to simplify the process to the smallest thing. Okay, now all these mandals, which are there in a district, they form zilla parishad. Okay, therefore zilla is district and parishad they form, and then how it's done. Okay, I hope it's clear. Then, if you talk about urban government, it's very easy. There are, if the city is small, then they will have municipalities. If the city is big, then they'll have municipal corporation. And how is this? This is selected. The cities are. We've already discussed this, that the city is divided into ward areas, which then go into elections, and that's how people are elected. Now let's see an example of in Brazil. What is this story? Let's read out that. A city called Porto Alegre. So Porto Alegre is in Brazil, has carried out an extraordinary experiment in combining decentralization and with participative democracy. The city has set up a parallel organization operating alongside with the municipal council. Um, Enabling local inhabitants to take real decisions for the city. So they've said that they have this experiment where they are doing this to enable the local inhabitants to take the real decisions for the city. The nearly 13 lakh people in the city get to participate in making the budget for their own city. The city is divided into many sectors, or what we call as ward. Each sector has a meeting like that of a Gram Sabha in which anyone living in that area can participate. There are some meetings to discuss the effect. It's not E, so it's not effect, it's affect. Now how is you going to affect, because it's a affect the entire city. Any citizen of the city can participate in in those meetings. Those the budget of the city is discussed in these meetings. The proposals are put in municipality, which takes the final decisions about it. So here they've done an experiment where 13 lakh people, they're going to prepare the budget for this city called Porto Alegre, and it's a big city. 13 lakh population is not less. About 20,000 people participate in in this decision making exercise every year. This method has ensured that the money cannot be spent only on the benefit of the colonies, which are rich people. Buses now run in the poor colonies, and builders cannot evict slum dwellers without resettling them. In our country, a similar experiment has been taken in some areas of Kerala. Ordinary people have participated in making a plan for the development of their locality. So they are saying that similarly in Kerala also there has been an example where people have tried. Here too, it's just for okay, here they tried it for experiment, but every doing an this deciding factor where people will have to vote, come 13 lakh people will have to decide on the local governments. That's a very hectic task, to be chalo. One time they've done it as an experiment, well and good, and the results might have come, but doing it regularly, it's a big burden, because nobody has so much time to discuss. And that is why there's this logic behind representatives forming and coming and deciding on behalf of the people. But yeah, if it works for them, good and well. And similarly, a similar case was done in Kerala. You can look it up, Google it. So, this new system of local government in India is the largest experiment in democracy conducted anywhere in the world. There are now 36 lakh elected representatives in the panchayat and municipalities. So, the members who are part of this, elected representative, there are 36 lakh panchayats and municipalities. So just like we have 543 members of Lok Sabha, so similarly we have 36 lakh elected representatives in the total. If you combine all the local governments, which under which comes panchayats and municipalities, etc., all over the country. So just imagine 30 lakhs is a big number. This number is bigger than the population of many countries in the world. Constitutional status for the local government has helped to deepen democracy in our country. It has also increased women's participation and voices in the democracy. At the same time, there are many difficulties, which, while elections are held regularly and enthusiastically, Gram Sabhas are, and enthusiastic gram sabhas are not held regularly. Even if we say that these this thing elections for these positions, elected representatives, they have regularly, but a gram sabha, which is actually a meeting of all the people in an area, with the panchayat and this municipal council, then we don't have a good record in that, because sometimes the meetings are held and sometimes not. Most state governments have not transferred significant powers, and even if we say so much decentralization, this and that, still most of the many powers are not being transferred to the local government. Nor have been given, they are not given adequate resources, okay, significant, not transferred significant powers. uh, we are thus still a long way from realizing the ideal of self government. So, still, we are far. We haven't um, been at the top notch, but yeah, we're going close to our this whole ideal of um, self government. Find out the local government in your village area. You can do this exercise. If you live in a village, find out the names of the following panch, vagera. If you live in your sarpanch, samiti chairman of your zilla parishad. Also find out the last meeting. And similarly, um, if you live in an urban area, do it that exercise for your municipal council, mayor, or find out the budget for your municipalities, and so you can do this exercise at home. So locate the following states on the blank outline map of India. So you can do this exercise, Manipur, Sikkim, Chhattisgarh, and Goa. You can do this. Identify and share three federal countries other than India on a blank outline political map of the country. You can do this exercise, which countries are federal countries. Point out one feature in the practice of federalism in India that is similar to, and one feature that is different from that of Belgium. So, if we talk about this practice of federalism, of course, the biggest um similar and one see, of course, similar is that, of course, even they have represented at the local level, but theirs is based on this language, okay, where we have they have this Belgium, if you talk about Belgium, they have it in the basis of, sorry, they have it on the basis of German speaking, then they have it on the basis of this thing Dutch speaking, and on the basis of French speaking, right? So Belgium is mainly, they have done it through this thing, uh, like language speaking wise, but ours is not like more of language speaking. We have like proper this thing. One common, first I'll tell you the common, okay. Common is that we both are part of the holding together federations, as in the central government. They have more power than the state provinces, like state specific, for example, Karnataka, Kerala, and here the same well on region and everything here. The second okay, the second point, the difference that we have, of course, it's not language wise. Ours, theirs is more, this division of power is more because of the language issues. Ours is not for that. Ours is made for like better governance and better process of democracy and participation, decentralization. Our idea is more of that. What is the main difference between a federal and the unitary federal? Of course, there's this power distribution, power sharing between the different units of the government. And unitary, the whole power belongs at the central level. For example, China. Okay, state any differences between the local government before and after 1992. Of course, the first is that we had the three tier system. Before that, it was always a top down approach. Whatever was set from the top, whether you talk about the state government or union government, it had to be followed. But now after that, there was more of decentralization. People could make their decisions, prepare their budget and everything at the local level. And there was representative by the for the women. One third seats are reserved. We also have seats reserved for SC, ST, and OBC, and then other also, you can see that regular here on this page, regular election, state election commission, and so on. Then let's see, fill in the blank. Since the United States is a coming together type of federation, all the constituent states have equal power in states. Equal power and states are strong vis-a-vis the federal government. In India, whereas in India, which is a holding together type of federation, and some states have more power. In India, the central government has more power. We already know that, we've discussed a lot of times. Here are three reactions to the language policy followed in India. So, give an argument to explain the support of all these positions. Sangeeta says the policy of accommodation has strengthened national unity. Okay. Language based states had divided us by making everyone conscious of the language. Somewhere it is true, when we go to other places, we are a lot of times, very conscious and everything, that this person doesn't speak my language, so is he good or not? That has happened, you might have experienced somebody meeting somebody who doesn't speak your language. Would you be comfortable sitting, not sitting, how, it would be not so much comfortable, though you should be comfortable because they're also citizens of India, and beyond that they're also human beings. But sometimes it's just the comfort level, with somebody who knows your language, and you can have the bond easier. The Harish says the policy has only helped to consolidate the dominance of English all over the other language. So you see, the English thing is the issue of English, comes from this colonial baggage that we have, because here that time there can be no, firstly, to be honest, there can be no official language of India, because India is so diverse, and whatever is actually happen, whatever is the um this present system, where all the this thing language is given each status, and most of the central government this thing administration, only English is used, right? This is the best thing. We don't know what will happen, if we say that so for the state government, whatever is the local government that is used in the administration and documentation and everything. We have literally no clue that what will happen, that if one medium of language is considered official in for all the paperwork. The distinguishing feature of a federal government is that national government gives more power to the provincial government. Uh, no, they don't give more power. They share the power. You can say, or divide the power. Power is distributed among the legislature, executive, and judiciary. That's no, that's not a distinguishing feature. Elected officials exercise supreme power in the government. No, elected government is divided between different levels of the government. So I think the most distinguished is this only, that the governmental power is divided between different levels of the government. Everybody has different set of duties, different set of powers. A few subjects in the various Indian constitution are given. You can write, so you group them. We've already done this exercise: union, state, and concurrent place. Whatever are subjects you think which are of national level importance, without any guess, just put them in the union list. Okay, and something that can be done at the state list, put them in the this thing mm, uh, state list. And what do you think that the role might be important for both the central and the state level? Give them the concurrent list. Okay, now here examine the following pairs that give the level of government in India and powers of the government that to that of to make laws, and the subjects mentioned against each. Which of the following pairs is not correctly matched? State government, state list, central list, union list, central and local government residuary powers. So residuary powers actually is of central government only. Okay, and not here. Match one and two of the following. Uh, Union of India, Prime Minister, State, Governor, Municipal Corporation, Mayor, Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch. So this is right. Consider the following two statements. In a federation, the powers of federal and provincial governments are clearly demarcated. India is a federation because the powers of the union state governments are specified in the constitution, and they have exclusive jurisdiction on their respective. Uh, which of the following statements are correct? Okay, so we have to find the correct statement. Are specified in the constitution, they were exclusive jurisdiction. Yes, they some though are very exclusive. They know that you have to make, these are your subjects, these are your subjects, and these are the remaining ones. Mm, then we have Sri Lanka as a federation because the country is divided into provinces. No, that's wrong here. India is no longer federation because some parts of the states have been devolved to. No, actually, being federation is equal to division of powers and giving sharing powers with the local government. So we've done this chapter 2, and yeah, if you have any questions, please comment down, and take care of yourself, stay healthy, eat healthy, enjoy life. Also, this is your time. You have to study, you have to enjoy your life, you have to have good hobbies, and yeah, that's it. Wear mask, practice social distancing,